Thanks for checking out this question from our daily live Zoom calls. Please like and subscribe to keep learning how we help the largest online community of self-directed retirement investors and entrepreneurs grow and control their retirement funds. Here, the next question is, I have a promissory note to an unrelated party within the solo 401k, presumably can and what cost to transfer, roll over, or roll from the solo 401k pre-tax to a self-directed IRA traditional. Reason to do so, the promissory note may continue past the solo 401k. So great question. So number one, we should first talk about the distribution rules. So anytime you're transferring either cash or it could be an asset like an in-kind transfer, such as a promissory note, out of the solo 401k, you've got to consider the rules because you're not able to just automatically transfer cash or assets out of the solo 401k at any time. You've got to, it depends on the facts and circumstances. So there's a good page on our website, which I'll share this link here. It's making solo 401k distributions. So really the rules regarding taking a distribution are the same as the rules regarding taking a rollover in terms of whether you can transfer the cash or assets out of the plan. And you have to do a source analysis, right? So if really the source of that money was money that you contributed to the plan, you're generally not going to be able to transfer that cash or asset out of the plan until you're at 59 and a half. Now, if the source was really from money that you rolled into the plan, from, again, a former employer plan or a non-Roth IRA, you can transfer that cash or asset out at any time. And then, of course, if you're shutting down the plan, that would also be a triggering event where you're able to roll over the cash or assets to an IRA. So that would be a threshold consideration, is whether you're even eligible to transfer that asset out of the plan. Now, specifically, if we're talking about what we could call as an alternative investment, like a promissory note, as opposed to, say, cash or a typical brokerage type investment like a mutual fund or publicly traded stock, where you could just easily transfer that type of cash or investment over to an IRA, right? Here, if it's a promissory note to an unrelated party, you're not going to be able to just transfer that to, say, an IRA at Vanguard or an IRA at Fidelity, because those types of IRAs don't allow you to hold these types of investments. So assuming you could transfer it out, because let's say you're shutting down the plan, right? You could transfer the note over to a self-directed IRA, right? So there's a number of self-directed IRA companies that historically have allowed people to invest IRA funds into alternative investments, including notes. So those companies hold the asset though, right? You know, under the IRA rules, you have to have an IRA at a financial institution, or specifically it would be an IRA that allows you to hold a promissory note. So that would technically be one option, but now that means that you no longer have checkbook control over the money, right? So you're going to have those repayments back on the note now sent to that IRA, specialty IRA trust company or custodian. So another approach that folks will take with our clients who have solo 401ks, and let's say they're shutting down the plan, but they need to transfer the assets in kind over to a self-directed IRA, is they'll first contribute the asset into an LLC that's owned by their IRA, that's owned by their solo 401k, right? So now the note is going to be payable to an LLC, of which that LLC is 100% owned by your solo 401k. And then you transfer the membership interest of the LLC over to the IRA custodian. It's got to go to an IRA custodian that's going to allow you to hold that alternative investment. So, for example, like Forge Trust is one example. And so if you go with that type of transfer and structure, you will still have checkbook control over the money, because the member of the LLC, in other words, the owner, is going to be your IRA, and you'll be the manager. And so from the borrower's perspective, right, the borrower would be paying the LLC, and they would continue to pay the LLC even after the transfer of the membership interest over to the IRA. So we have a post on our website that talks about this type of process. So let me chat over this link here.
Hopefully that helps. Good